never stare at a blank TV screen. Sometimes, it looks back. Olivia found out too late. Olivia lived by herself in a quiet part of town on the third floor of an old apartment block. The pipes groaned like an old man in pain, the walls were thin, and the heating rarely worked when she needed it the most. She didn't mind, though. She liked being alone. She had time to write, think, and breathe. The unit and a few other old things from another time were left to her by her grandfather in his will. These included a cracked armchair that still smelt faintly of pipe tobacco, a grandfather clock that ticked just a bit too slowly, and a big, dusty TV with thick dials and a convex screen that made the room look like a skewed snow globe. She didn't touch the TV very often. It was an old, forgotten item that sat still in the corner. Up until that Thursday night. It rained hard, the wind howled, and the thunder shook the windows like hands hitting glass. Her internet went down, which made her more angry. Olivia turned to the old TV because it was the only thing left. She was angry and bored. The screen came to life with a loud click. The room was filled with a low hum. It's a sound you don't hear so much as feel, like when lightning hurts your skin. She turned the knobs to change the channels. Just snow. Still, after that, something changed. A shape was made in the air. At first, there was only a dark blur in the middle of the screen. Olivia leaned in and strained her eyes. Over time, the fuzz got sharper and sharper until she could barely make out the shape of a man. He was tall, still, and eerily pale. He was hidden from her. She knew, though. He looked at her. It was like her blood was frozen. All of a sudden, the power line cracked and came loose from the wall. It should have been dark on the screen. It wasn't. The man stayed. The figure didn't fade, but the sound did. In fact, he seemed more clear now, more real. He slowly put up one hand and pointed at her. Olivia fell backwards and gasped for air. The temperature dropped in the room. It felt like something long dead had stirred up the air, making it thick and sour. The only person who might believe her was the one she called on the phone. Jared. The lights flashed and then went out when the phone rang. The TV didn't go off. Now that the person was closer, the chatter was louder. Voices whispered through the speaker sounded like they were trying to get out. The voices were weak and frantic. The man then put his hand flat against the glass right as Olivia hit call. She screamed. 20 minutes later, Jason showed up, drenched and out of breath. Olivia was curled up in the corner, shaking and with wide, scared eyes. Now the TV was dark and had a blank screen. She told me everything while crying and shaking her hands. Jason wasn't amused. He knew Olivia. She wasn't the type to freak out for no reason. He said, "I'll stay the night, just in case." He set up the couch and kept the TV close by. As he fell asleep, he watched it halfway. Olivia didn't sleep much. She jumped at every creak and draft. And then, at 3:03 a.m., the TV turned on. With a sound. Jason jumped up quickly. Olivia let out a gasp. The man came back. Better now. His face filled the screen like a bug stuck in a trap. Hollow eyes, a mouth that was stretched wide, and lips that were curled open in a quiet scream. One hand that was mostly bone reached out and scratched into the static. Letters showed up. Let me explain. Jason took a step closer, stunned. He pointed his finger at the screen. The man lunged. His face smashed forward in a flash of static as a hand came out of the TV and hit the glass. The force that couldn't be seen threw Jason across the room. He coughed and grabbed his throat as he hit the wall with a terrible thud. Olivia rushed to him. There were red marks on his neck that looked like someone was trying to choke him. Jason was unable to talk. Not for days. Doctors didn't understand. There was no harm to the voice cords. In terms of health, he should have been fine. But he didn't say anything. Hollow. It was like the scream he wanted to let out was still inside him. Olivia chose to get rid of the TV because it was cursed. She wrapped it in blankets like a dead body, dragged it to her car, and drove miles out of town to a forest-near field that was empty. She left it there and didn't look back. That night, just after midnight, her phone rang. A movie message. No sender. She opened it. The recording was weak and dark, and it was made in the corner of her room. It showed Olivia sound asleep. The sound cracked softly. Still, she jumped up and turned on all the lights, looked under the bed and in the wardrobe. Nothing. Nobody. But it was there when the sun came up. In the corner. Screen. Connected. Waiting. They told her not to go into room 1313. She did not hear. She is now stuck in a room that doesn't show up on any map or floor plan. Emily had been on the road for 3 days in a row. She was tired, hungry, and tense, and she could feel her rationality starting to slip away. 2 towns ago, her car broke down, leaving her stuck on a lonely stretch of highway. The trees around her seemed to get closer as she looked at them. No one came to help. Not a signal. Her backup battery had died a long time ago, and her phone was almost dead. It was almost midnight when she got to the Rosemont Hotel. The streets were empty, and the air was eerily still. The Rosemont looked like a lost artifact from a different era. Its spires cast long shadows in the moonlight, and stone gargoyles stood watch over its arched entrance. Ivy curled up on its sides like veins on skin that has died. It looked left behind. Still, the vacancy sign in the window lit up red. There was a slight metallic smell in the lobby, along with the smell of old wood. Near the hearth, where there was no fire, a grandfather clock had a rough beat. The chandelier above was dim and covered in dust. It cast shifting shadows on the old wallpaper. A woman in her late 60s sat at the front desk with a pale face that made it impossible to read her emotions. It looked like she was just waking up when she slowly looked up. Her eyes were dull. She said, "We only have one room left. 1313 room." Emily laughed and raised an eyebrow. "I don't get scared by superstitions." Her lips twitched a little, like they were hurting. They should. But after a long pause, she reached under the bar and gave him a metal key that was dirty. Not a key card, but a cold, old-fashioned key. As it went up, the lift groaned. The lights flashed from floor to floor, and Emily was sure she heard whispers just outside. The elevator car. They were too faint to make out, but she was sure they were there. As soon as the doors opened to the 13th floor, she realized that things had changed. It was darker in the hallway, cooler. The wallpaper was old and yellowing, and the light bulbs flickered and buzzed all over the place. It didn't feel right. It looked like no one had walked on the floor in decades. Room 1313 was at the end of the hall. Its door was different from the others. It was thicker and darker, and the number 1313 was cut right into the wood. Not a sign, just deep cuts in old wood. Emily's breath was thick in the air when she walked in. The hallway wasn't nearly as cold as the room. A high-backed sofa, a dusty vanity, and a huge closet that creaked ever so slightly as she walked past them all. Looked like they had never been used. The corners were covered in thick spider webs. The blanket on the bed smelled musty but was well made. Felt like the whole place had been waiting. She wasn't interested because she was too tired. She shut the door, dropped her bag on the floor, and jumped into bed. She fell asleep almost right away. She woke up to a single knock at 2:13 a.m. Emily woke up with a racing heart. The room was less bright than before. She thought for a moment, then walked over to the door and opened it. There was no one there. It was just the hallway that had changed. The wallpaper was now fully peeled off, showing plaster that was cracked. There were ragged spots on the carpet that was stained with something dark that had been there for a long time. The worst part was that the other doors were gone. There was just room 1313. Once more, once more, once more. Each one was the same, and they lined the hallway for what seemed like forever. Emily went back to her room because she was lost and confused, but when she opened the door, she gasped. It wasn't the same room, but it was. The walls were a darker color and looked like they had been hit. The furniture was breaking down, and the shadows seemed to be moving. They moved like smoke on purpose across the floor and roof. That mirror on top of the dresser was broken, and when she looked in it, her image didn't move when she did. She slammed the door shut out of fear. But room 1313 was the only way out. She was stuck. The phone went off. She slowly walked up to it and carefully picked up the receiver with shaky hands. "You belong to the hotel now," a slow, frightening voice said. She screamed and threw the phone across the room. It broke apart. The whispering didn't stop, though. It came from the bed, the walls, and the vents. Sounds. A dozen of them. It seemed like she did everything. Smashed windows, scratched walls, and even set the bedsheets on fire. The fire wouldn't catch, though. Beyond the glass, the window showed nothing but darkness. Not the night sky, just nothing. Time went by, or maybe weeks. In room 1313, time turned upside down. Emily stopped having food. No longer sleeping. The sounds got stronger. They said her name over and over in their whispers. They told her fears and thoughts from her past that she had hidden deep inside. Even worse, they began to laugh. The mirror told me something new on the third night, or maybe the 13th. Take a look back. Emily slowly turned around. The closet door was open. It wasn't opened by her. There was a different Emily inside. Pale, crazy-eyed, and smiling big with lips that were bleeding. One foot dragged as she took a slow step forward. Emily moved back in fear and tried to open the door, but it wouldn't work. "You were always going to end up here," the other Emily said in a whisper. The old clerk at the front desk did not move. Another guest came in from the rain and cold. He took a look. "Tough night. Do you still have anything?" As she reached under the desk, the clerk didn't blink. Her voice was dull, not full. "There's only room 1313 left." Don't answer if you hear someone singing your name from under the floor. It's not who you think it is. They were very excited to move into the old home. It was out in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by trees, and had a fireplace and wooden floors that creaked delightfully when you walked on them. It was interesting, but soon after they moved in, they heard whispers. At first, the sounds were only at night, coming from under the floorboards. Ben thought it was just the wind or animals in the basement. The whispers turned into words, though. "Anna, come down here." Anna stopped moving when she heard her name. She put her ear to the ground. It was easy to understand. Well known. It seemed to be her late grandma. It wasn't heard by Ben. Not at first. After a few nights, he woke up to find Anna mumbling on the floor. She said, "They're lost. They were buried alive. Help them." Ben took the boards up. There was dirt below. He dug a little. Bones. Bones of people. A small mouth with all of its teeth still there. He asked the sheriff to come. The bones were still there when they got there, though. The whispers got worse. "You lied to us. You brought them. We believed in you." Anna had changed. She didn't eat much. She never went to sleep. She did nothing but listen to the floor. When Ben got home one day, the living room was a mess. The floorboards came apart. Crawl space opening up. Anna was not here. He yelled for her and looked everywhere. He then heard her voice. "Ben, everything is fine now. I agree with them. It's so warm. So come hang out with us." Ben tried to get away. The car would not start, though. The cell phone did not work. It looked like the roads went around and around the house. He's still there, being quiet. The rumors are still going around. They say there is now a new voice among them. It's possible that yours will be next.